biteable sizes, outranking countries such as Germany, Slovenia, and Ukraine in their sheer capacity to squeeze BLTs, meatball subs, and grinders into shapes that will easily and efficiently fit into their open mouths. Researchers pointed out that in series after series of tests, Americans consistently topped international rankings by implementing over 800 pounds per square inch of compressive force on sandwich categories as diverse as banh mi, croque monsieurs, or gyros, rarely hesitating for more than a moment before diving in and pushing the bread together and wedging it into their mouths.
Even in the cases in which Americans failed to sufficiently compress a sandwich and, say, dropped a stray piece of bacon or avocado, they still led the pack on quickly scooping up this topping with their hands and eating it, sometimes even inventively doing so with a stray potato chip or french fry.
This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number to call to bring up whatever is on your mind, and that's the point of Free Talk Live, for people to call in with whatever they want to talk about and discuss it with us. Just get your thoughts aired out on national radio and get out what you want to talk about without being controlled by the radio host.
But if you're an idiot, I'm going to call you an idiot.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
just so we're clear.
And if you just continue to call Richie Rich fat boy, it might not be considered an argument, and we might get bored of your call and hang up on you.
It also doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah, it's just so bad. I just happened to be sitting in the room when David from New Mexico called last week, very mad at you. I guess that's what you're referencing when you said you'll call them an idiot? Or
no, just in general. If you call into this show and like spout off idiotic nonsense, I'm like, dude, that's some idiotic nonsense. And that's actually, just what I do.
Now that I think of it, I'm pretty sure that you refrained from calling him any names while he just kept calling you names.
Maybe. I might have.
I feel like you did.
Okay.
But
I appreciate that.
We do already have a caller on the line. So Tom from New Hampshire. Tom, you wanted to talk about Trump. What did you have to say about Trump?
Well, Trump wants to be Pope, and he posted a picture, an AI doctored up picture of him dressed up as Pope on Twitter, X, and so that brings me up an idea. You know, any evangelicals who actually think that Trump would be a decent Pope, I would just remind them what it says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 15 and 16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inward they are ravenous wolves. You shall know them by their fruits, close quote. And well, take a look at the fruits. Look at the 24 April 2025 raid on a home in Oklahoma City where a mother and her 3 daughters were peacefully sleeping, and immigration and customs enforcement goons barged in with lots of guns drawn everywhere, getting them up, forcing them out of the house. Oh, by the way, the warrant wasn't for them anyway. They just moved into the place, and they're being forced out of the house in their underwear in the rain, and they're scared for their lives. So, you know, are we really safer with all these goons?
Where was that? Sorry?
Oklahoma City. You key in the search term Marissa, because that's the pseudonym that radio station, or excuse me, TV station KFOR, Oklahoma City, Channel 4. That's what the FOR in the call letters means. KFOR.com. And Marissa, ICE, and, you know, they just moved from Maryland. So key in keywords like that, and you'll find it.
I already found it.
Do you actually think Trump wants to be Pope? This is highly disputed amongst friends of mine.
So anyway, let me mention something here, that they were pleading with these immigration and customs agents that we aren't the suspects. We're U.S. citizens. Leave us alone. Don't take all our money. We need that. That's our cash. And they took the cell phones and pleading with them. They were as cold as ice.
Mm-hmm.
Very Pope-like behavior.
Wow, that's pretty awful. So they took money from these people?
Oh, yeah. Well, they had a search warrant to raid that house and take all the cash and electronics that they find in that house. And so that's what they did. Never mind whether somebody else lives there now. They didn't care about that when they found out somebody else lives there. You think they're going to back off and apologize? Oh, no. They have a warrant that says they have a legal right to... So suing them would be pretty difficult. You'd have to figure out some way. But it's just like the attack on.
I know that the warrant on. Sorry, I know the warrant on my house definitely said things about Ian Freeman. Like it had his name on it, not just the house. Like it said any computer devices that could reasonably be assumed to have been used by Ian Freeman. That's why they wouldn't let me keep my cell phone or laptop. So I feel like these people might have a case.
Maybe because I think the legal term, or at least the constitutional term, is the warrant must have the person or place to be searched and the items to be seized.
Wow.
So they might have had the wrong name, but if they had the right address, right, that's the place to be searched, and the electronics are the items to be seized. So even if they got the wrong person, they weren't searching a person, they were searching a place.
Wow, it's so bad.
Kind of like on 28 May 2014 when the goons in Habersham County, Georgia, threw a flash grenade into a toddler's playpen, and none of those goons went to prison. It's just more proof that no human being will ever be safe until the last cop is dead.
I'm glad you're back on that bandwagon, Tom. You got off it for so long, and I was very disappointed.
He always hangs up after he says it because he thinks we're gonna get mad at him, but I think he has the wrong two hosts to get.
I mean, he led with the Pope thing, and I asked him a question if he really thought it, because
oh yeah.
What do you think Trump wants to be Pope?
This is the first I've heard of this. I pulled up a story from AP. It says that Trump drew criticism with AI images of himself as the Pope ahead of the papal conclave, which is that where they choose the new Pope.
So let me back it up a little bit for you. Like a reporter asked him a question about, after the Pope died and they were doing the conclave, and they said, well, who would you like to see as Pope? And Trump said, well, I think I'd be a good Pope. Right. And then he backed off. He goes, well, I don't really get involved in these things. And then he put together like an AI picture of him in the Pope gear and posted it on Truth Social or whatever on X. And I'm like, well, see, my personal opinion is that I don't think Trump says things necessarily in jest. He says things to float the idea out there and see how, and to garner the response to it and gauge how acceptable what he said is. So if he said I wouldn't mind being Pope, and all the MAGA people went, yes, Pope Trump the first.
Wouldn't he have to be Catholic?
Yes.
Is he?
I don't know.
I've never heard that he is.
Okay.
I've only ever heard that JFK was Catholic, and that was almost like a big problem for Americans who are mostly Protestant.
Yep.
Is that the word? I remember it being not that he almost didn't win, but it was while he was running on his campaign, people were like, and he's Catholic, we can't trust him.
Yep.
So I feel like it would have come up if Trump was Catholic, Yeah, I
mean, you're not wrong, and I don't know. But, if he is, or how long does it take to go get baptized? Right? I don't know.
Well, it does take some time because with them, it's some classes and stuff like that, and then you get baptized babies at the end. No. Oh. Well, I think that's a baby thing, and then there's your first communion where you have to take the classes, and that's when you decide you're Catholic and you
that's confirmation.
Yeah. Or did I say communion? Well, there's also first communion. Maybe that's confirmation. I was never Catholic. So
okay. I was. I'm confirmed, now atheist.
So do you think that he could just get baptized like
baptized
babies
is easy.
do?
Yeah.
And then that would be I feel like that wouldn't be enough for Pope, though.
I don't know. The only rule that I'm aware of, right, because I don't follow this anymore, is you have to be Catholic. And if he's in the running for Pope, and they go well, just baptize him and then make it so. But point being, right, some people say, a lot of people go well, he was just joking. Trump's a jokester, and I go, no, he says the thing to gauge their response, and then he acts based on the response.
That wouldn't even be a really bad way of doing things. I feel like probably lots of like companies do certain things like that.
Yeah, and guys, right? It's a guy thing. Like, they say something lewd or lascivious, and they go, "Nah, just kidding."
Oh.
So unless you're serious, because if you're serious, then then I'm serious too. Otherwise, I was just joking. Totally joke, unless you're serious, right? But you say the thing to gauge the response, and then you course correct from there.
Well,
Pope President the First.
One thing I think about is, would he even have enough time? Like, he has to do everything that the president of the United States does. I feel like
he spends so much time golfing.
I feel like they won't choose him.
They shouldn't.
Yeah.
But he said it and then sent out the picture of him in the gear. So the question is not could he, but does he want to be?
And maybe it's just part of this whole propaganda that's been going on the internet for a really long time, like Catholic, go Catholic. Randomly choose to become Christian one day and randomly choose Catholicism out of these ones. Have you been seeing that?
No. I don't spend a lot of time on the internet.
It really is a Gen Z kind of thing. And I know multiple people in my personal life, I won't say who have I want to say fallen for it, but that's going to sound offensive, as if it's that's a objectively bad thing to do. But the thing is, when you're being propagandized to do anything, even if it's neutral, eat toast today, it's pretty obvious to other people who see it happen. Like if you were sitting around watching TV with your sibling and a toast commercial came on, and then they're like, now I want some toast.
So I'll share you a story about this. Do you remember the cereal Oreo O's?
Oreo O's? No.
Yeah. Okay. So this goes back a ways because there was no cell phones at this time. But I was sitting in the in our room with my stepbrother and my friend, and we were watching TV, and a commercial for Oreo O's came on, and we went, "Oh man, we got to get some of these." And my mom was out shopping, so I picked up the landline phone to call my mom. And my sister was on the phone. I went, "Hurry up. I got to call Mom." And she's like, "I'm calling Mom." Oh. And I was like, "Tell her to get some Oreo O's." And she's like, "That's what I'm calling for."
Whoa.
We were watching the same show in two different rooms and had the exact same impetus to call and get some of these, this breakfast cereal.
That is really cool, cool story in a way, but crazy. And it's I would say those things are probably bad for you. So ultimately, is it a quote unquote bad story? Maybe, but at the same time, I'm not a person that believes that advertisement is inherently bad.
Okay.
They could have advertised
but it works.
To you
it
something.
Clearly works.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. There are people, especially people in certain health topics on the internet, who right now will talk all about how advertisement is inherently bad in and of itself, and I think that's so dumb. It's all because, RFK made it, I could be getting this wrong, I think he made it illegal to advertise. Okay, if he didn't make it illegal to advertise pharmaceuticals in America, he keeps bringing up, we're the only one who doesn't make it illegal, and that's, and a bunch of different MAGA people keep saying that.
Yeah.
And it's so what? Ignore them. The other day, I was at a bar with my friends during Liberty Forum, and there were 4 TVs in this bar because it was a sports bar. 3 of them at once had a pharma ad on, and we were like, whoa. We just were talking about the one next to us, and then one of us looked over and they're like, there's a different pharma ad going on, right? And then there was a third one, and it didn't cause any of us to go get on that medication. You can ignore them,
I think part of that is that you're young and that your friends are young. A lot of this is targeted towards
old people
or sick people, the people who need it, and then you hear the side effects, you go nope, I don't need that.
And then they say them quietly and quickly right at the end.
Yes. But look how much more active of a lifestyle you can lead if you just get on this medication. Right, that's the pitch.
Yeah.
And I'm immune to most ads, especially online ads. I've become blind to it just because I'm so comfortable ignoring it.
There's a South Park episode about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I feel like I'm immune to most of them, especially when it's there's so much junk food that when I see a picture of it, I want it, and I'm oh man, that ad sucks, and now it just made me want that, so I'm gonna put that energy into something else. I made cookies today.
Nice.
Oh, and I was gonna say, was there some reason that made me want something sweet, but I was no, I'm going to make my own cookies. And there actually was. It wasn't necessarily an ad. It was like an infographic of someone talking about food, and they had a picture of like the little Debbie thing. And I was like, it just sucks so bad that I can't just go buy a little Debbie anymore because I don't eat like any of their ingredients, basically. And I was
You'll
like,
probably be okay.
That just sucks so bad. So I went and made my own cookies. So I remember one time Peakless Mountaineer got mad at me and said that there's no possible way that I'm immune to propaganda because no one is. I don't think I'm necessarily immune to all propaganda, but I think I'm immune to a lot of it.
Well, it depends on what you consider like propaganda. Like, I'm fine with targeted ads because there are certain things that I'm interested in and certain companies that I want to buy from. And when they release a new product, right, I want to know about it. And then I want to jump in the line to get it. Mm-hmm. Right. So I set myself up, to see those. And I'm fine with that. Like that's what I want to see. If you're showing me stuff I don't want to see, then you're misspending your ad money, right? Because I'm not interested. I'm not going to buy it. If my feed is loaded with pharmaceutical ads, you're barking up the wrong tree, right? But if my feed is loaded with like electronics and video game stuffs, well, yeah, that's what I want to see. Like I want to know about the latest and greatest. Like I've got a whole X feed. I said this before. I got a whole X feed dedicated to like the retro video game scene. Like I just consume that news from all the different sources that I'm currently aware of. And if you're in that field, like advertise to me, right? I want to buy some of your stuff, please.
Let's say, for example, like in one of the video games, are you always thinking to yourself like, oh, and they put this in here for like propaganda? Does that happen often? Like, does that thought come up?
The only thing that I'm aware of when that stuff comes up is like brand advertising. Right, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. Maybe Fallout with the Pep Boy, right? That might be like the whatever.
Pep Boy, is that like the?
It's the like the character. I don't know how to get into the details of it, but if you're playing a video game and there's like the character drinks a can of Pepsi, right? Like that's why old TV shows they always had like Shasta or some non-brand. Because like the advertisers didn't pay, but when you see brand advertise, when you see brands in movies and video games and TV shows, like they paid for that. The most famous one we talked about this before, Demolition Man, right? Taco Bell paid huge money, to be the restaurant in Demolition Man, but only in the American market. So in the international version of Demolition Man,
it was Pizza Hut.
It's Pizza Hut because it's a bigger brand internationally. So, but that's one example of how it's used.
That's interesting.
Every restaurant is Taco Bell.
I was going to say, the reason I asked that is I was going to say when you talked about your X feed, mine is a lot pop music and music stars and artists and celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have this like two brains thing that literally is just like two tabs being up at once. Every time I'm interacting with anything like that, because it's like literally entertainment to me and I like am interested in it and like it. And I want to be fed that news because it's like, I don't know. It's like now I could talk to my friend about with this thing or that thing.
Yeah, you're interested in it.
But I always have these two tabs up and it's like, I know these aren't real people. They're not my friends, blah, blah, blah. And I just know that there are actually people out there who don't have that ability.
Okay.
And they believe that these people are legitimately like their friends, and they're like that might sound shocking to some people, but there absolutely are people out there who legitimately think these people are their friends, and they'll spend so much money because of them, and they maybe they've been to their concerts, stuff like that. And I think it's like, and there are like schizophrenic levels where you literally think they're your friends, but then there's like this like, well, if we met, we would be friends, and it goes on in their head all day.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong, but there's a balance there because I know people who play like online games. I don't play a lot of online games, nary any at all, and they make friends online, like legitimate friends online that they only interact online, and sometime down the future, like 10, 15 years, they meet up in person and they're still like good friends. So like, can you make friends online through X or social media? Sure, you can.
Oh, I just meant the celebrities.
Yeah, why not?
I guess you could, but I would say the average person isn't friends with the celebrity they obsess with. So if you're playing like a video game, is there ever like a narrative and you're like, oh, they're putting this like girl power, for example, that's in tons of movies, and you're just like, this is propaganda, whatever, I'm just gonna enjoy the game anyway?
Yep, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Loaded with wokeness.
That's also in like the songs and the celebrity lore that always goes on with celebrities. I'm noticing but not caring enough to, like, I feel like maybe like teenage me would have been like, she's pushing this woke stuff and I don't like that and I just don't like her. And now I'm just able to be like, whatever, I like the entertainment, the music.
Spider-Man 2 was probably the most in your face for the wokeness stuff for me as far as a video game. But again, you know, like, whatever.
Does it have Zendaya?
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I know that there's a Zendaya Spider-Man, but I don't know which one it is.
That's the movies.
Oh. I just assumed they both had the same people.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Same characters, but like, you know, different people playing the characters, I guess.
So does the character look like Zendaya, just not voiced by her or something?
I don't remember that character in the game at all.
Yeah, that's the actress.
Right.
Oh, okay. It doesn't even matter anyway, because it's that was the point I was talking about. I just realized at the very end of the first segment, we never said that I'm Bonnie.
And I'm Richie Rich.
Yeah, we never said that the whole entire show.
Yeah, whatever.
And this is Free Talk Live, and you can call 603-283-6160 to bring up whatever is on your mind. That's 603-283-6160. Yeah, even if Trump doesn't want to be the Pope, I think that maybe the floating the idea is like a good point. Like, that could be what he's doing. But the other thing is he does stuff just to get people talking.
Yeah. Like, and it's not just the Pope, right? He says stuff like, you know, again, this is, I don't know what's become of this so far, but we're going to take back Canada. We're going to get Greenland, right? We're going to take over the Panama Canal.
And Gaza.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Gaza. That's a good one too. He says stuff like that, and then he just waits to see like the reaction. And if it's positive reaction, like, yeah, go get Gaza for us, man. Like, we need that. Then he'll push harder on it. Right, and if he gets pushback from like Canada and Greenland or Denmark, you know, owning it or whatever, then like, well, they're not Americans, so like their opinions don't count, right? So, but he, you know, I don't know if he would push as hard if a lot of people just, you know, on his side said like, nah, it's probably not a good idea.
And as far as like the Catholics themselves, I feel like a lot of them might be upset at first, but I think that they would just have to get over it because in their religion, it's like God appoints the Pope, so you would just have to accept that God appointed Trump if that was your religion.
Yeah, it's weird.
Unless you wanted to do a thing where instead of going into cognitive dissonance, you completely quit being Catholic. You know.
Yeah.
So
that's the benefit of being Catholic is you have the Pope, right? It's the biggest religious figurehead on the planet.
Why is that the benefit?
Because if you're who do the Protestants have? Who do the Lutherans have?
Like Martin Luther. No, I'm just
well, yeah, but who's the figurehead of the current church?
Yeah, I don't know.
And even if you know, are they as big as the Pope? No.
Yeah. Like Mormons have a president, but I don't know who the heck that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you did, like, are they as big as the Pope?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Not
sure
even close.
Riley knows his name, but it's not big enough for it to be like a common.
Right.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More Free Talk Live coming up. Don't go anywhere. You can call 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. The Trump administration is trying out a new method to increase deportations, offering to pay undocumented migrants to leave the U.S. voluntarily. The White House says it'll be cheaper than arresting, detaining and removing people in the country illegally. Ever since Tony Waterman has more from Austin, Texas.
The Department of Homeland Security announced Monday that undocumented migrants who self-deport will be given $1,000, money that would be distributed after the individual is confirmed to have returned to their home country. The government is also offering to pay for travel assistance and says that people who say they will leave through the CBP Home app will be deprioritized for removal. The White House is hoping this will speed up mass deportations, which have lagged previous administrations. Tony Waterman, Texas.
Meanwhile, President Trump says that he's offered to send American troops into Mexico to fight drug trafficking, a proposal that the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has rejected. In a sprawling interview with NBC News, Trump also raised questions about whether undocumented migrants are entitled to due process, a protection guaranteed under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. U.S. President Donald Trump says he plans to reopen the notorious Alcatraz prison in the San Francisco Bay to house what he's called America's most ruthless and violent offenders. However, local officials immediately criticized the plan as unfeasible. Ever since Ira Spitzer reports from San Francisco.
Writing on his social media platform Truth Social on Sunday night, Donald Trump said he was directing the Federal Bureau of Prisons to reopen Alcatraz, the island in the San Francisco Bay, which once housed criminals such as Al Capone, closed in 1963 because it was too expensive to operate. It's now one of the region's most popular tourist attractions. The president's critics blasted the plan, with former Democratic Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, who represents San Francisco, saying it was not a serious proposal, and State Senator Scott Wiener calling it an attempt to put a domestic gulag right in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies to try and boost Hollywood's production. However, his suggestion has prompted shares in U.S. studios and streaming services to fall. Israel has approved a plan to capture Gaza and push Palestinians into the southern part of the enclave. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it would be a forceful operation to destroy Hamas and rescue the remaining hostages. He didn't say how long Israel would keep the captured territory. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 is the phone number. You can call to get in on the conversation with us, bring up whatever is on your mind. You can change the topic. That's the point of Free Talk Live. And I'd like to thank Joseph for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Joseph went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Joseph and everyone who supports us. And again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Richie Rich.
And we had a caller in the last segment who brought up Trump wants to become Pope, allegedly. And the idea that, well, not the idea, the fact that ICE, Immigration...
Customs Enforcement,
raided a house of some people that had just moved from Minnesota to Oklahoma City, and they had the correct address for the people that lived there before them, apparently were suspected of being undocumented immigrants, and they raided their house. And that's insane, but...
bureaucracy moves slowly.
Yep. And honestly, maybe they were like watching with cameras and they're like, well, those last illegals didn't have anything we want. They just had tortillas. These people have money. These people have cash they're bringing in. So I'm going to raid. Let's just go ahead and raid anyway. Because they took cash and they took cell phones.
Yeah, and that stuff's hard to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, there's a lot of cases where they confiscate those things, and unless you can get media outrage and public support, on your specific case, it's just gone, and you'll fight them for years trying to get it back.
And that guy, the civil rights lawyer on YouTube, can only do so many cases in videos at a time. I was just thinking, like, it's crazy how much he puts out. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do not.
He's really cool. His name is the Civil Rights Lawyer on YouTube, and I was already thinking, like, if he didn't already do a video, we should send that to him.
The only lawyer I watch on YouTube is the lockpick lawyer.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Oh, he picks locks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does it have to do with him being a lawyer?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
He just picks locks.
That's funny.
And is a lawyer.
That's funny. But another story about a raid on a house, but in Spain, and really the raid isn't the thing I want to talk about this story for. 3 children rescued from home after COVID syndrome parents kept them locked for years in the house in Spain. And there's multiple things I want to say about this. We're going to get into it, but
okay.
I'm just going to maybe foreshadow. One thing is that, of course, it's crazy that people went this crazy over COVID, and these people locked their kids in their house since 2021, and the kids were acting like it was like they went outside to touch grass and stuff like that. They're like, whoa, this is crazy. They were 9 and 8 because 2 of them were twins, 3 kids. And that's crazy in and of itself. Not that surprising, in my opinion. But the second thing is the way that the article, this is from NDTV.com, but the thing is I saw it.
Reputable news source.
Yeah, I saw it in multiple places. I don't really know anything about NDTV World. That's what it says at the top. The way that they made the headline and the way that the cop talks about this at the end, I'm sensing a pivot, and it feels like these people who literally enforced the regulations making people, or the response to COVID, making people stay in their house, making people act this crazy, are acting like
scaring the bejesus out of people.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna die if you go outside.
Yep. They're acting all shocked and, well, we know a lot of people reacted weird to they're trying to pivot. They're trying to seem like it isn't literally directly their fault.
Yeah.
So, 3 children rescued from home after COVID syndrome parents kept them locked in for years in Spain. It says 3 German children living in Spain have been rescued from a COVID lockdown house of horrors. That's what the cop called it. After being forced to stay inside long after pandemic restrictions ended. I mean,
never be too safe.
Even if it was only the amount of time that the pandemic restrictions lasted, imagine you're 10. If that was 3 years, that's 30% of your life.
Yep.
I did the correct math.
Who turned them in to get the raid?
I think it's the neighbors.
Okay.
It says that it was in Oviedo, Spain, and that the parents were arrested and charged with domestic violence, with habitual psychological abuse, and child abandonment. It says, according to Sky News, the children were locked inside the house since 2021. Police in Spain launched an investigation after neighbors filed a complaint about children residing in the home who haven't been attending school.
Oh, so truancy.
Right.
Okay.
Such Karen behavior.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Because, the neighbor should mind their own business, right? This is a family issue.
Or go over there and don't be a bee about it, and go talk to the neighbors and do something about it yourself before.
Well, that's okay. So that's the problem with the modern system, right? If the neighbor tries to go over there and rescue the kids,
I didn't mean maybe that far.
Okay.
In fact, I don't even think that's moral to go and take somebody's kids.
But that's what the state did.
And I don't think that's necessarily moral either. But we have to talk about how they got in this situation is the state's fault.
Yeah.
I think that there are some people that just need to die, and some of those people will be children because it's not their fault. They have crazy parents or unproductive parents.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not disagreeing with you, but like if it's a family issue, the article's calling it a rescue, but the neighbor had no business there, the state had no business there.
Mm-hmm.
So who would be responsible for the welfare of these kids? You know, like who's got the right to rescue?
Who has the right to do it?
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody had the right to do this.
But then they're tortured and whatever, regardless of the reason behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're subjected to these inhumane conditions with no realistic way out of it unless someone intervenes.
And that's why you could do things like go over there and talk to the parents and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you can't convince somebody's parents to do something, I'm never going to agree that it's moral to go take them out of there.
Yeah. I mean, I've had neighbors talk to me about any number of things, and I go, okay, I will take it under advisement. I'm not agreeing to do anything that you want me to do, but I will try to be more neighborly. Mm-hmm. But if you push it, you're not going to get anything because, I don't have to do what you say. So if the neighbor goes over there and says like, hey, your kids are, malnourished and mistreated and you got to let them out of the house. And the parents goes like, thank you for your concern, piss off, or screw off. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
The other thing is, are we talking about like in a perfect world? Because there is the idea that if they went over there and messed with the parents too much, they could end up in trouble. That's how the state ruins all these natural relationships. People have natural consequences for normal actions. Like I always tell this story on the air, but there was this one time I saw this old lady in a bumpy, hilly front yard right by really fast traffic, and she was really old. Like one of those old ladies that have white hair that's so wispy you can barely even see it. And she was in one of those, like, those things that they sit in. And
the rascal scooters?
There we go, rascal. And she was, like, getting stuck in holes, and she was, like, just, like, looking completely out of her mind and, like, really near the road and, like, traveling through this grass for seemingly no reason and looked all confused. And I thought to myself, like, should I, like, call the police? Or not call the police, but necessarily, but call anyone to, like, check on her? Because if I call the police, for all I know, they could go there and shoot her.
That's the problem. But like right now, who else can you call? The system is set up where you dial 911 and you tell them what the problem is, and they dispatch whomever they choose. Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I didn't do anything.
Which, is perfectly acceptable, right, in a mind your business society.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to reconcile with this story.
These are Yankees. They chose their own...
Yeah.
What's the word? They chose their own reputation. Maybe that lady didn't want me to. Maybe that lady would have wanted me to mind my business.
Maybe.
And in Yankee land, I should assume she probably did.
Fair.
Yeah.
But in this story, I'm just trying to reconcile the fact that it seems like the rescue was a benefit, right? We have a positive outcome that these children are going to be put into probably a better situation, a more positive situation than what they had at home.
I don't know that you can just assume that. Like most people that get taken out and put into government, because it does mention that they're in government, they get raped and abused, separated from each other. For all we know, that wouldn't be better. And I honestly have no right to say which one would be better.
Again, you're right, but knowing the situation that they were in, right, like you have to get them out of that. Or don't. Well, you don't. Again, not you personally.
Yeah.
But it's not good for the kids. So, if parents are abusing their kids, there's a tendency to want to rescue. And the question is like, not should they be rescued, but who has the right to rescue them? And if you do the rescue, then you take responsibility for the outcome of that, right? And if you're the uncle or whatever, and you're like, well, I'm just going to go get the kids out because whatever, right? I don't care what my sister says. She's abusive, and I want what's best for the kids, right?
That would be great if that just happened and then there was no one to go and molest that man now who took the kids and just is normally sitting at dinner with them without 3 masks on their faces. Right.
But if they're sitting at home, not allowed outside, malnourished and whatever, I think the assumption is that they're going to end up in a more positive situation than that, because that's pretty bad. Right? I don't remember the specifics, but there was another story, and I don't even remember if it was a fiction story at this point. But some guy was being held like well into his 20s, like locked in a room, and malnourished and couldn't escape because he was too weak to like break the chains or whatever.
Oh my God!
And somehow set a fire, and when the fire rescued him.
Oh.
Right, or something to that effect. I might be making it up, but it's
believable.
It's believable, And it's recent, like within the last couple of months. So find it and correct me if you want. But point being, like, if someone were to have intervened sooner, it's hard to imagine that putting him in some sort of foster care, regardless of the risk, is inherently worse off than being chained in a room and being fed like, one sandwich a day.
Mm-hmm.
And being so weak and malnourished that you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, he might get raped somewhere else, but it's like, might be worth the risk just to get him out of that situation.
It's just not up to me. Like, I'm not God. I'm not the person that should be making that decision. Like, what's worse for this person, one situation or the other. And it's definitely not up to the state, and the state doesn't have the right incentives to actually figure it out correctly. I think we need just an entirely different society to even really have this conversation and be productive, But we do have a caller on the line. Turd Ferguson from Pennsylvania. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
We should be living life like there is no God, because there probably isn't. And if there is, he almost certainly hates us. Hedonism is extremely based, and you should be following your most primal natural instincts. Religion was created to control the masses by the elites so that they could do all the things that we want to do.
Yeah, but God isn't necessarily only a thing that you have to be a part of a religion to believe in.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that religion is, in and of itself, is created by the elites to control the masses because they want all the good resources and the feel-good stuff for themselves. And so they create religion to make people who do want the same things naturally like they do not go for it, so that it opens up all the good resources for them, and therefore it's cheaper because the demand is lower. So it's a thing economically that was created by the elites to drive down demand for all the great things that make us all feel good and make all our pee-pees hard.
Have you ever heard of the idea of like Arabs that are extremely rich? There's not necessarily a link between all of religion and not wanting material things. See what I'm saying? There are lots of...
Well, the heads of the religions always have the material things.
Have more?
Generally more than the flock.
Mm-hmm. I just don't think all religions discourage materialism. Like Mormons, they all have like plastic surgery, nice stuff.
I'm not necessarily saying materials only. I mean, for example,
I was going to get to that. I think that it's more about the spiritual things they're hiding.
Well, I think it's more about, like, for example, the elites don't want you to, especially like Bill Gates and stuff. He wants all the hot young girls for himself. You know what I'm saying?
I've never seen him with a hot young girl. He has like a hideous wife.
Well, he's got no wife, and that's because he's so fat that nobody wants to have sex with him. But assuming that someone would have sex with him, he wants all of you to be Christian, so that you don't want to have sex. Well, let me finish.
Melinda Gates.
You can.
They're divorced.
Oh, they got divorced?
Long time ago.
Oh, they still have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he wants you to be a Christian, and by you I mean Richie Rich, so that Bill Gates. And then you want to wait till marriage to have sex so that Bill Gates can have sex with all the hot, young 24-year-old girls. And you see how that works? Like, he wants you to be religious while he's not. And really, I think we should all not do that so that we can all enjoy all the things that the elites all want for themselves, like having sex with hot, young 20-year-old women, for example. But that's not the only thing. But I just think that we should be living life like there is no God, and I think everybody would be happier.
It's just like one little autistic thing. I don't think that you have to live life like there is no God and also enjoy things. I think that you have this idea that here's what it is. It's like you have this idea that's intertwined together, like religions of the world that have already been written down, and these are what you have to do, and God, and it's not necessarily the case. Like, I'm not trying to convince you there is a God. I really don't care if you believe that or not. but can you open your mind to the possibility that there could be a God that didn't care if you have premarital sex and isn't going to punish you for anything in your life and actually just wants to experience you?
Sure, there could be, and if
the Nordic gods,
that's fine. But if that God exists, then it doesn't really matter whether or not we believe in him while we're alive, because he's not a jealous God and greedy God. So we should be living life anyway, like there is no God, and making ourselves feel good and be as hedonistic as possible. Because if that God exists anyway, then it doesn't matter. He's not jealous or angry at us anyway. But if it's the God of the Bible or of the Quran, God forbid.
Who forbid?
Right. Then he hates us. He hates us anyway. And if he exists. So we should be living our life as hedonistically as possible. Based hedonism. Go listen to teen pop music that makes you pee-pee hard. Go indulge in lots of drugs and alcohol if you're into that. Live life.
Why does it always end up like this with you people who want to believe that there are no God? Why is it always, let's do drugs and alcohol?
Well, look, I'm just saying that might be a good idea for you. I actually don't do drugs and alcohol, and I still think that you should live your life like that.
Okay.
So I'm actually not even selfish. See how that works?
No, I don't understand why you would call in to tell people to do things that damage their bodies while not doing it yourself. It kind of sounds a little Bill Gates to me.
Well, if I wasn't fat and disgusting, I might not mind being Bill Gates. He's got a lot of money, that's for sure.
You're fat and disgusting?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Didn't he say if I wasn't fat and disgusting?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Gates is, if I could be Bill Gates but not fat and disgusting, then I would probably live my life like that too. You know, I mean, he's got a lot of money. He's got some mansions all over the place. He's got makes a lot of passive income. You know what I mean? Live your life like there is no tomorrow. Do things that make you feel good.
I think I'm with you like part of the way. Like I think you're right that there's
part of the way.
What's that?
Why just part of the way?
Well, because when you say stuff like live like there's no tomorrow, that's setting yourself up for failure. Because like I'm going to go to work this week and I'm not going to get paid until the following week, right? So I'm living my life like I'm going to be here next week. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to work this week. Mm-hmm. Like if there was no tomorrow, I'm not going to work.
Yeah.
Right. But if I don't go to work every day, my life is not going to be a lap of luxury. I'm not going to be like banging 20-year-olds. I'm going to be homeless.
Like what you do? Do you like what you do?
What's that?
Do you like what you do?
I don't mind it. I haven't quit my job.
But you don't like it.
I didn't say that. I said I don't mind it.
Well, do you like it or not?
He wants to try to sell you on you should quit your job to become a DJ at a strip club. That's what Turt's trying to get to.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just wondering. It's a simple yes or no question. Do you like your job or not?
And I've answered it because it's not about just whether or not I like it or not.
You didn't answer it. You gave me some.
Yeah, I said I don't mind it.
That really doesn't answer the question.
He doesn't dislike it.
Yeah.
It sounds like
I don't dislike it to the point of not going, but I don't wake up excited.
Then you're living your life like there's no tomorrow. You go into it because you like it.
I mean, that's your assessment. You're free to have it. I'm going there because I know that I need to feed myself next week, and I plan to be around next week.
So you're eating some good food too. Sounds like you're living life like there's no tomorrow. Very base.
That's not what that means.
That's not what that means at all. Like the food that I eat, like I'm not indulging every night, right? Because I plan to be here a decade from now, right? You don't go to the gym because you plan on dying tomorrow. You go to the gym because you want to be around in 20 years.
No, I go to the gym because it makes me feel good. It gives me a dopamine release in my brain. That's something I know quite a bit about, and because it makes me look handsome. Even more handsome than I do today, and that's pretty damn handsome, let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, but the results that you put in the gym today aren't going to manifest tomorrow.
Doesn't matter. The dopamine release I get in my brain manifests the moment I get there.
If you actually knew the world was going to end tomorrow, would you be at the gym?
Probably. I'd probably be there in the morning just to get that initial dopamine release, and I'd spend the rest of my day doing drugs and downing booze.
Right, but do you do that every day now?
I don't do it at all.
Well,
Exactly, so you don't live life like there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, I do. I live it on my terms.
You wake up every day, do the gym
you
in the
just
morning,
said if
then
there
do
were no
drugs and
tomorrow.
booze?
Yeah, if you just said if there was no tomorrow, you would go to the gym and do drugs and drink all day. But that's not what you actually do.
That's what I do if there was definitely if I knew for a fact there was no tomorrow.
So you don't
But
live
still
like there is no
I do
tomorrow.
know that-
You don't
Not
even
even
live your
like-
own philosophy.
I live it like there's no tomorrow, knowing that it will not, knowing that objectively there will be. But if I knew for a fact that there wouldn't be, I would.
That's
do some things
foolishness.
differently, but I don't know how much differently. And so there, gotcha.
I think it's not a gotcha. I think most people live like there's some future that they're working towards.
Yeah, no, those people are retarded.
But you're one of them.
No, I'm not.
You just
I don't wanna be
admitted
anything
it.
like you. No, I'm not.
You just said.
You don't live in the way that you would live if there were no tomorrow.
I just said I live life like there's no tomorrow, knowing
that there's a
there will
tomorrow.
objectively
That's not
be
true.
one.
That's the dumbest thing you've ever said. Maybe.
So,
you say
Turd-
some pretty dumb things.
Turd called in to say, just summarize, that he's fat and disgusting and that he does drugs and drinks all day. Thanks for the call, Turd.
Make sure that goes in the show notes.
We also have Kadu in Connecticut on the line. Kadu, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody already called to let you guys know because I started listening a little late. But Trump is converted Jewish. Did you know?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's. I think it had something to do with because I think his name's Jared Kushner.
His son-in-law.
And then his daughter, right, and he joined up, and I actually knew that even in well, maybe he hadn't converted in 2016, but he was really leaning towards it.
Okay.
But yeah, he wears the funny little hat, and he kisses the wall.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
a
but they
lot
all
of
do
leaders
that.
do that.
The
Yeah.
wall or whatever. So yeah, I don't think there's a big chance that he's a Catholic.
Okay. I mean, I don't think him wearing the hat and kissing the wall is evidence that he's Jewish, because way too many Western elites and political leaders do that in order to curry
I think
favor
it's
with
pretty-
Israel.
No, that wouldn't be. I get what you mean, but I think he's actually made a conversion.
Well, this from March 13th, 2025 is an article from the Times of Israel, and he's saying, this guy, Ron Burler, is saying that will he have the courage to fully commit? And he's making it sound like he said he would help him if he has the conviction to fully commit to converting. So I don't think that he actually did, go all out and actually do it. More Free Talk Live coming up, 603-283-6160. But he talked positively about Israel and Jews for a long time. More Free Talk Live coming up.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. Forkfest.party. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Free Talk Live continues with Hour 2 up next after the news here at listen.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper. The Trump administration is trying out a new method to increase deportations, offering to pay undocumented migrants to leave the U.S. voluntarily. The White House says it'll be cheaper than arresting, detaining and removing people in the country illegally. Ever since Tony Waterman has more from Austin, Texas.
The Department of Homeland Security announced Monday that undocumented migrants who self-deport will be given $1,000, money that would be distributed after the individual is confirmed to have returned to their home country. The government is also offering to pay for travel assistance and says that people who say they will leave through the CBP Home app will be deprioritized for removal. The White House is hoping this will speed up mass deportations, which have lagged previous administrations. Tony Waterman, Texas.
Meanwhile, President Trump says that he's offered to send American troops into Mexico to fight drug trafficking, a proposal that the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has rejected. In a sprawling interview with NBC News, Trump also raised questions about whether undocumented migrants are entitled to due process, a protection guaranteed under the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. US President Donald Trump says he plans to reopen the notorious Alcatraz prison in the San Francisco Bay to house what is called America's most ruthless and violent offenders. However, local officials immediately criticized the plan as unfeasible. FSN's Ira Spitzer reports from San Francisco.
Writing on his social media platform Truth Social on Sunday night, Donald Trump said he was directing the Federal Bureau of Prisons to reopen Alcatraz, the island in the San Francisco Bay, which once housed criminals such as Al Capone, closed in 1963 because it was too expensive to operate. It's now one of the region's most popular tourist attractions. The president's critics blasted the plan, with former Democratic Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, who represents San Francisco, saying it was not a serious proposal, and State Senator Scott Wiener calling it an attempt to put a domestic gulag right in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
US President Donald Trump has ordered a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies to try and boost Hollywood's production. However, his suggestion has prompted shares in US studios and streaming services to fall. Israel has approved a plan to capture Gaza and push Palestinians into the southern part of the enclave. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said it would be a forceful operation to destroy Hamas and rescue the remaining hostages. He didn't say how long Israel would keep the captured territory. From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks at the start of what could be a telling week for the future of President Donald Trump's global trade war. Over the weekend, Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said another round of talks ended with no common ground between the US and Japanese negotiators. He said Tokyo will continue to ask the US to reconsider its tariff policies, not just the auto parts tariffs that went into effect over the weekend, but the whole package that Japanese exporters are now facing. And in many ways, the Japanese government is expressing the same discontent with Washington that many other governments are expressing. The Trump administration says around 200 separate negotiations are underway after the president's own Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the US trade war is not sustainable. But not a single set of those conversations has yet yielded any kind of result, and it's unclear how ready the Trump administration is to engage in serious-minded efforts to to alleviate the crisis. One gauge of that will come on Tuesday when Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney travels to Washington for his first visit to the US capital since his victory in last week's election that was supercharged by Canadian voter hostility towards Donald Trump. We'll see what kind of reception he receives at the White House after he told Canadians that the old bilateral relationship between the two countries is now over. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again, the Trump administration is trying out a new method to increase deportations, offering to pay undocumented migrants to leave the US voluntarily. US President Donald Trump says he plans to reopen the notorious Alcatraz prison to house what is called America's most ruthless and violent offenders. And President Trump has ordered a 100% tariff on foreign-made movies to try and boost Hollywood's production. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to a Stanford University study released Wednesday, there is no logical reason why planes are able to fly. Reiterating that they fully understand the concepts of lift, thrust, and propulsion, lead physicists told reporters they were still unable to reasonably explain how a large 500,000-pound object is capable of staying up in the air without falling.
We've come up with several theories, including wind propulsion, some sort of gravity suspension effect, also the possibility that the clouds pull the plane skyward, but beyond that, just don't understand how a large metal tube could just kind of float in the air like that. And it's going at like 500 miles per hour, which means that when I'm on a plane, I'm also going 500 miles per hour. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, why is my hair blowing back and forth?
The Stanford team added they plan to devote the next 2 years to a new study on why telephones can hear. In other news, an urban planner is stuck in traffic of his own design, and a kid screams behind a passenger during an entire plane crash. Visit theonion.com/newsbeat for more.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160 is the number at Free Talk Live. That means you can call that number to get in on the conversation and bring up whatever's on your mind. You can change the subject. You can talk about what we're talking about. It's up to you. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie.
And Richie Rich.
And we have Sarah in New Mexico on the line. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yes. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, hold on. Just messing around with my speakerphone. But, my network company... we made the USA Today with the most trusted, and we made the top 1,000 list. I don't know, 2025 with the USA Today. Is it
Amway or Melaleuca or one of those? I forget.
I don't remember which one she said, but it's a MLM, and it sounds like the MLM paid for an ad in Newsweek or something. Is that what you
USA
said?
Today.
Oh, USA
Today. And I'm reading the article, and they said they never asked for it. They did a study. The USA, they hired their own research team. They never entered into like a contest or anything. They're the one that researched it. And, so...
being the most trusted MLM is probably like being the most... Wait, I can't think of a good analogy off the top of my head.
Unlike other hosts, I have no problem with MLMs.
I'm just saying, if you're going to be in the realm of the most trusted of a thing, you could be like, I'm the most trusted priest in my parish. And that's like, maybe that's like something. But if you're the most trusted, I'm not saying MLMs are thieves, but thief on Main Street, that's not that much to brag about because these companies are not trusted. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to today most trusted brands and the America's best stores. So what is the 1%? It's like one out of 1,000 companies that made the list.
The other thing is, does it really mean anything that the average consumer is out there trusting a company? I mean, they're pretty easy to trick.
Well, you know what? Actually, I get that a lot. What you're telling me, they just paint you with what you call the broad stroke, like the one paint color.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's like you're just like this, so therefore you're just like Amway, so you are Amway. And I get this a lot. But I mean, whether you want to believe this article or not, I don't know how to use this computer thing. I'm trying to track this article on the web, and I want to download it into my email. I could send it to the UPS email and they'll print it out. But I don't know how to do all that. But so I don't know, how do you bring up the magazine on the computer? Don't they have it all on the computer?
I could bring it up myself if that's what you're asking. I would look. I trust you that it's in there.
Right. I don't know. I don't have a laptop. I don't have a smartphone. I'm still talking through a dumb phone, flip phone. And plus, even if I had it, I would not know how to do it. Anyways, I'm not asking you to do it because I wanted this article so I could print it out onto the UPS, but I might have to take some technology course or something like that. So, this is the article that I got with my shipment.
If you just go to a UPS store, I bet they'll help you print it out because they have their own computers there.
Or the public library.
Yeah, something like that. And thank you for the call, Sarah.
I mean, congratulations on whatever company she's with.
Yeah, if they didn't actually pay for it. I don't know if I trust just that the article says that they didn't. Unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
I'd like to speak on the topic you guys were talking about when it came to children, and more so kind of the responses to it. I didn't know if you guys were outraged over what the parents did or you were outraged that the police stepped in. But when you were going on about that, I was curious, is there at any time when you believe any sort of intervention is necessary to save a child that's within a home if the homeowner does not consent?
I think that you can do something that's wrong, and I don't have to call it immoral. I don't have to say that that was a moral, correct thing you did, but you did it yourself, and I'm not the person to punish you for it. And if you believe that you did the right thing, you did the right thing. I mean, not you did the right thing. I'm not gonna be able to punish you for it. I don't want to be able to punish you for it. But then at the same time, if we lived in a society, because the thing is, whenever we're having these conversations, we have to talk about today, or if we lived in a society Bonnie likes, or if we lived in a society Zephin likes, or Stefan, if that's what your name is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation, isn't it?
Well, it sounded to me like you seem to have a problem, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misrepresent anything somebody's saying, but it seemed to me like you were suggesting that in this situation where these kids were apparently kidnapped and, held in seclusion for years, which as we all know is
no, they weren't kidnapped by their parents. Those are their parents, but they got kidnapped by the government.
No, effectively secluded. All right, I wouldn't call it kidnapping, but secluded from society for years, which is extraordinarily damaging to a child's development, and nobody would disagree with it. That's why I think some of the COVID restrictions were actually extreme because they harmed the development of children more so than we initially thought. But you seem to say that in this situation where these kids are basically being tortured, it would have been better for the neighbors to mind their business and just try to talk to these people.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, let me try to ask you a question, and maybe it'll move the conversation into where you're trying to get here. Who has a right to intervene?
I think anybody who has the concern for the welfare of the children. You see, as a society, we have crafted rules and laws as to how we think children should be treated, and generally these laws are not just arbitrary. There are reasons they're put into place. So if you believe that a child is being abused or tortured, like, for example, if I look in a window, right, and I see a 6-year-old being gang raped, I don't think it's necessarily wrong for me to intervene. I do think it is the correct thing for me to intervene, and I don't believe I'm violating anybody's rights by doing so.
But you don't have any legitimate claim to the children.
I live within a society and function within a society that has agreed that it is wrong to harm the child. Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be one thing if you did. Here's the thing. I don't think you currently, right this second, live in a society that agrees that it's wrong to harm a child. And I'm not talking about the gang rape necessarily, specifically. Right now, you don't live in a society that agrees that it's not okay to harm a child. That's so vague. Like, I could say that it's harming my literal neighbors in real life's children that they send them to public school every day. Do you see what I'm saying? I think I could actually prove it. Should I go take them?
By a majority has established public schools and have agreed that that is the way our children should be educated.
We try to avoid collectivist thinking on this show.
That's just such a dumb way of thinking. I don't think that actually brings us to any actual closer to actual truth to just say, well, that in your case, and what if the society in the story you just told, a child being gang raped, were you and those people doing that and the child were the only people in society? Well, looks like it was the right thing for them to do because the majority decided that.
Not really a functional society at that point. That's way too small of a sample size.
Well, I guess your principles that you don't have don't scale. Sorry.
There's a difference between having principles and harm reduction.
Well, you've actually already admitted that you don't have principles, so it doesn't really matter. You said that you're a utilitarian.
That is a complete misrepresentation of what I've said. Listen, I used to be in this libertarian mindset. I don't think it's right to say I don't have principles.
No, you told us that you're a utilitarian, and the whole conversation ensued where we found out that utilitarian means whatever is right is the thing that's best in that moment.
I wasn't talking about utilitarianism. That was
not today.
I don't use the debate bro tactic.
This was like 2 years ago. Aria was on the show, and I was on the show with Aria.
Huh. Yeah, I don't recall that. My bad.
What do you do with the Edge case? Right?
Such as? Give an example.
You don't agree with the homeschool curriculum that a Christian parent is teaching their child.
Okay.
Can you intervene?
Are they permitted by the rules of our society to use the curriculum that they are partaking in?
Who sets the rules?
So generally in the United States, because we are a representative democracy, it would be a group of legislators that get together and pass a law, or if you have a state with a ballot initiative.
Then no, because they're not following. Then no, because they're not following the publicly available homeschool curriculum. They're teaching them their devout Christian ways.
Yeah, what society are you talking about, Stefan? Because in Connecticut, you can't homeschool your kids. So say this is happening in Connecticut. Can you take the people's kids if they live in Connecticut but not New Hampshire?
I would be very shocked if anybody in Connecticut was getting their children taken away because of a homeschooling curriculum.
We're asking if you would, and if you would say that's okay.
I wouldn't do anything, but if law enforcement wanted to intervene and it was something that was agreed upon that should be a crime, then yeah, sure.
Then I honestly think that just proves that you're the bad person in this situation. Me, if you're going to ask me why I brought the story in and what is the thing I'm upset about, because I think he first asked that and we didn't really get to answer, I brought it in because I am saying it is wrong what these parents did and that the cops shouldn't try to pivot the blame as if this only happened because there are some fringe people that acted weird. Wow, we can't believe this. They're acting shocked when they shouldn't because they directly caused this situation to happen. And we also got into the weeds a little bit because it's just another conversation that can be had on the topic. When is it okay to intervene and what should have been done instead? So to answer the original question. Thank you for the call, Stefan. We also have Dave Ridley in Colorado right now. Still, Dave?
I am in Colorado. That's correct.
What's on your mind?
So I have an update on from the New Hampshire State House and the whole question of New Hampshire sovereignty. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance has endorsed a bill, which is, I guess it's House Bill 584, which quote, what is the right way to put it would be, quote, it quote, provides that the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and the World Economic Forum shall have no jurisdiction in New Hampshire, unquote.
Sweet.
But did the House already vote on it?
That's a quote from the analysis, by the way. And the House has not voted on it. However, the committee did, I guess, vote on it about 4 days ago, and they voted against it 5-0, inexpedient to legislate. So that will make it difficult to push it through the House. It is listed as being on the consent calendar for May 8th, which means that it just automatically they just automatically rubber stamp the committee's recommendation to kill it.
Yeah.
So there's people in the New Hampshire legislature that want those organizations to have jurisdiction in New Hampshire?
I guess, or maybe they found something in the wording of the legislation that they didn't like. However, the legislation is very short. It's not complicated. It looks like it's about one page, and I did skim through it. It was pretty easy to understand, as many New Hampshire pieces of legislation are.
All right.
Well,
so what's next then?
All that really means is that, like, of these committees of, I think, max like 20 people, a majority of that voted inexpedient to legislate. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's like a ton of people that want these.
Well, but if it's going to get killed.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, once it goes onto the consent calendar, anyone can move. I think just one person can move to remove it from the consent calendar, and then it could get voted on and then get taken off, and then it could still pass.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's not over yet.
Is this a call to reach out to your legislatures then to get this pushed